Hi. Um, so, huh. uh, as I've mentioned before, I have been trying to get my son into Doctor Who. We started with the uh, 60th anniversary specials, and at that point, it wasn't as much about getting him into it as to I really wanted to watch them, and so I had to talk him into watching them. You know, like, hey, can we? He's like, yeah, we can. And I said, well, if you like the show, I can bring the others and we can watch them. Okay, so we watched that first episode, the Star Beast. No, did you like it? Yeah. You want me to bring more? Yeah. So we've been watching through them. We only just got to Capaldi's first series, which, by the way, has some bangers from him in there. Mummy on the Orient Express, Kill of the Moon, um, um, Listen, very good ones. But yeah, so we started that. So yeah, so I said to myself that I wasn't going to review these episodes, these new ones that are coming out on Disney Plus, because it's hard for me because I don't have Disney Plus here. I have to go over to my folks' house and watch it with my mom, with my son. Excuse me, English, and watch it with my son. And so by the time we get there, or at least around the time that we're there, we'll have 1 to 2 episodes to watch. Uh, and so it's kind of hard for me to retain and remember certain things. Um, so uh, I have enjoyed every episode so far. I don't get it. People are hating on this, calling it woke, and just hating on everything. Space Babies was the first episode. Everyone shit all over that one. It's called Having Fun, and that episode was fun. It was having fun. The second episode, alright? I'm trying to think what that one was, though. Oh, the Devil's Chord. That one was a good one. But again, people were shitting on it because of the musical sequence. And while I agreed that there wasn't enough Beatles in it, I liked it overall. And of course, people were calling it woke because of the villain was a drag queen. Shut the fuck up, okay? That's culture nowadays. It's gonna happen. Just shut up, okay? And then the latest episode, not latest, but the one before that, boom, I had heard a lot of good things, and then watching it, it is a pretty good episode. I thought it was a ball episode. There was more about it than was just contained. It was mostly the Doctor on a landmine, and like my biggest complaint was, why didn't he try the Sonic? And it's not like, oh, he couldn't use the Sonic because such and such reason. He never brought it up. And the reason I say that is because I'm watching through the old episodes of New Who, and in there, they rely on the Sonic for everything. Something pops up, right? So to see this here now, and him not bring up the Sonic, or at least make a reason why he couldn't. If I use the Sonic there, it could cause it to go off. I can't do that. Not brought up once. Big complaint. Also, another reason could be, oh, if he uses it, then it could be over, so it could be over. Yeah. And that was fine. That was Friday. That one, we watched that one. It was before the new episode came out, so we didn't watch it. We had a lot of stuff going on. So we ended up not watching the newest one, 73 Yards, which is the episode I'm actually going to talk about here in this video, what this video is about. We didn't watch it until this morning, Sunday morning. And we had to watch it twice. And here's why. Because after finishing it, and it wasn't just me, my son as well, we were confused. We were left asking a million questions. We started watching we went back to Capaldi, and we're watching his stuff as we were halfway through one of the episodes. So we were watching that one. We were halfway through that one the day before, and so we we watched a new one, there, and then we were sitting there trying to watch this, and we just kept asking questions and theorizing, and I'm like, you know what? I think we should watch it again. I think we need to watch it again. And he's like, yeah. So we watched it again. This episode, I'll put it in the good category. You know, I've liked all these episodes. There's some problems. It's a mystery. You know, J.J. Abrams mystery box, where you have all these questions and not everything can be answered at once. You got to build to it. But then Damon Lindelof and Carly Hughes came in and took over and ruined that because it just never gave any fucking answers ever. I felt like Russell T Davies used that, but the Damon Lindelof Carlton Hughes version, where they built upon this mystery box of this woman that stands 73 yards away from Ruby, but they didn't actually give us an answer. I haven't watched it twice. There's not really an answer. Yes, you could say, oh, such and such, it's this. It is definitely this. Sure. But not really. And we'll get into it. And right off the bat, with something I pointed out. No title sequence. It starts and it pops up 73 yards, written by Russell T Davies. And there's no opening. And I pointed it out. I'm like, there's not going to be any intro. And there wasn't. They started listing the actors' names. There was no intro. Which I think works for this. Although I said to myself, I watched the Who Culture videos, ups and downs, and I knew Ellie was going to give it a down because I knew she's not a fan of changing things up. So I'm like, she's probably going to give it a down. To me, though, it worked. Because this is probably the most serious episode we've had. Besides Boom. I think this is the most serious. It's also very confusing. But we start in Wales on some bluffs, right? And immediately I'm confused because the doctor comes out. And Ncuti Gatwa's doctor, just to talk about him for a minute, is probably the most enthusiastic doctor we've had in New Who, at least. My mind goes back to Matt Smith, but even he wasn't as enthusiastic as Ncuti Gatwa. He comes out and he's just, oh, we're in Wales! And I'm like, you've been to Wales before. You stopped Rexacala Falafatorian from blowing it up with the rift. Why are you so excited to be in Wales? You've been in Wales. Spoiler alert. They always film in Wales. So I don't know why he's so excited to be there. But yeah. And I saw this clip of them kind of bumping into this little thing that's on this cliff, which if you're gonna put some kind of shrine up on a cliff way up where not many people are gonna go, probably a good idea. But this is one of my issues with the episode, is this is never explained at all. She bumps into it, they bump into it, they walk on it. It's the doctor, to point this out, it's the doctor who walks into it first. But because Ruby reads the thing, rest in peace, Mad Jack, the doctor then disappears. And here's another issue I have. That's never explained either. He's just gone for the entire episode. I understand having a Dr. Light episode, sure. But you can't just have him disappear and not explain where he went. He's just gone. Like, what happened to the doctor? And, like, in other Dr. Light episodes, you can explain it. In Blink, where is he? Trapped in the 1960s with Martha. They got sucked there by the Weeping Angels. They don't show up to the end. Cool. In Love and Monsters, where is he? He's off doing other things while we follow this other guy. Sure. Left Turn, where is he? He's there. He's at the marketplace. But Donna has been tricked. So we're following Donna the entire time. It's explained. Here, they just said, it's a Dr. Light episode. He's just not there, and it's never explained. Nothing. And when you try to put common sense into this whole thing, it just doesn't work. Like, where did he go? We never get an answer, by the way. But here's the thing. Before they hit this thing, the doctor this was in a clip too that I saw the day before. The doctor is talking about a man named Roger Apt William, who caused nuclear war in 2046. Excuse me, 2046. That's 3 years before the moon hatches into a creature. By the way, according to the Cabal, the episode killed the moon, and I didn't think that was going to come back, but it does. Anyway, the doctor disappears, and the Ruby sees this woman off in the distance, 73 yards away, who's just kind of making gestures. And again, they do a great job of surrounding her in mystery. No matter where Ruby goes, she's following her, and that is creepy. One of my biggest fears, besides fire, is that there's someone watching me out the window. Yeah, Michael Myers scares the shit out of me in that regard. Because one of my biggest fears is I'm going to look out the window, and there's just someone staring up at me. It's frightening. And that happens quite a bit. And I'll give it, the horror in this episode is done very well. Right? And so, like, she goes to this inn, and this is another issue. So she goes there, and she starts talking about this woman, right? And she brings up where they're on the bluff, and then it happened. They start talking about this story about Mad Jack and everything. And then there's this pounding on the wall. And I'm like, a part of me wanted it to be the doctor to break the tension. Like, what happened to you? I walked off, and then you weren't there. Like, he didn't disappear, but he walked forward to look at more stuff, and she just didn't see him go off or something, or he went back to the TARDIS. Like, she goes to the TARDIS and bangs on it and can get it open, which we know that the TARDIS is a living thing, so it's kind of confusing. We know that TARDIS is a living thing and can do stuff on its own. We also know that companions like Clara can just snap it open. Now, she doesn't probably know that, but again, rewatching, Clara can open up the TARDIS by doing that. So it's, when you write stuff like that, again, no, it was Moffat in charge there. Dave is here, sure. But, I don't know. It just seems very easy to just say, oh, the TARDIS just doesn't open. But she goes in, there's this banging, and it's just the delivery guy. And all this stuff they were saying about this Mad Jack, it was a curse, it was a witchcraft, a joke. And I felt like that took the air right out of it. Like, all this suspense and tension gone. Because they were building up something that they could have built upon, and they're okay, what's going to end? And no, it's just a joke. They're all joking. It's not, Also, and it was a little when she gets in here, it's a little weird, because she's like, I need a room for the night, and she's like, okay, that's 65 quid. Okay, and I pay with my phone. Like, your phone? Are we supposed to think they're not in modern time? He just said it's Wales. They don't say it's the past or anything. It's too easy that they're in modern day as well. But like, he's like, of course you can pay with your phone. This isn't the dark ages. And I'm just like, why was that there? I don't know. She stays there. Yogurt, and toast for breakfast. I'd eat it. Sure. And so this is the first time we get a glimpse of the power of this thing. Is the night before, there's this guy, he's going to leave. I'll talk to her, I'll see what's going on. And he goes to leave, he talks to her, and he runs off. He just runs off. And then the lady says that you're going to have to leave because a friend said he won't return here if you don't. And when we asked why, he said, ask her. And then Ruby's like, not me. her, like the lady out there. So she decides to leave, just go home. And she gets on a train and she goes. And again, we see that this woman is following her. By the way, another thing I want to point out before we go, when Ruby is getting ready to leave the bluffs going down the hill there, who does she run into? Susan Twist. If you don't know who that is, Susan Twist is an actress who's had a cameo in every episode since The Church on Ruby Road. She was someone watching Ruby's performance there. She was actually in Wild Blue Yonder as well. I don't think she was in the Toymaker one though. But she was on the screen in Star Baby or Space Babies. She was the tea lady in The Devil's Chord, and she was Ambulance in Boom. And here she's Hiker. That's her character name. And this is the first time that it's kind of acknowledged because she's like, have we met before? I don't think so. And so there's some kind of mystery with this woman, but also there's also the mystery of Mrs. Flood. And you kind of got two mysteries here. We'll get to Mrs. Flood in a second, but we got two mysteries here. It's kind of a lot. On top of this being a mystery episode with no conclusion to the mystery, but I don't know. I don't know. That's her cameo. So Ruby goes home. She takes the train. She sees this woman still following her, still out there in the middle of the walkway. And then she goes home. And she tells Carla, her mom, about it. And so Carla has the brilliant idea, which actually could be smart. What I'm going to do, I have my phone. And I'm going to call you like this, hello. And I'm going to go down there. I'm going to see what she wants and talk on the phone. A part of me would want to tell her, give the phone to someone that's not related to her and do it, because this is the part where I'm just sort of, I'm like, why did we do this? Carla goes down. Same thing happened to her as happened to the guy. She has the phone, and then she just runs off. And then Carla now wants nothing to do with Ruby. And my issue is, yeah, Carla talked to this thing, caused her to freak out, not want to have anything to do with it. What about Cherry Sunday? She also lives there. Does she have no say in anything? I know she's bedridden, but still, bedridden, whatever. But still, you'd think she would say, well, where's Ruby? What's going on? Why aren't you, she wouldn't just, again, when you try to put common sense into this, some things don't work. And here, the common sense is Cherry Sunday. She would defend Ruby. She would do something. She would just, And again, during this scene, when Carla goes to talk to her, we see Mrs. Flood. And Mrs. Flood, she's like, are you, you're on your phone, you're talking to your mom who's just over there with it? And then I think maybe she got a glimpse and she looks over there and she goes, it's not my business, and walks back in her house. And a part of me wants to think maybe she knew what it was. Maybe she knew something's going on. I don't know. And then we get to a confusing part. She's sitting at a cafe with Kate Lethbridge Stewart. And I knew something was off when Kate introduced herself as Kate Lethbridge Stewart. She always introduces herself as Kate Stewart. The doctor is the one who always calls her Kate Lethbridge Stewart. I don't know if that was a mistype or they wrote that and didn't realize. I don't know. But she introduces herself. And I'm sitting here going, okay, how did this happen? Ruby doesn't know anything about UNIT. She doesn't know. Nothing. She's only been traveling with the doctor for a little while. Although, it's been a while because when the second episode happens, it says June of 2024, which is coming up. So it's been, because it was Christmas, freaking Christmas when they took off. And it's still Christmas and Space Baby. So there's a big time jump between Christmas 2023 to June 2024. So, at least 6 months have passed. A little more, 6 months. So they've been traveling together for like 6 months, which is, And Kate says we keep tabs, basically. We keep tabs on those who travel with the doctor. Okay. And, she tells her where the TARDIS is, but she doesn't do anything. And again, when you try to put common sense into this, so Kate's sitting there and she tells Kate about this woman. Don't worry about it. There's some sort of perception filter, kind of like the TARDIS, where she's there. People know she's there, but they don't really interact. You know, uh, and she's like, oh, we had all sorts of psychic training and all this stuff, and so she sends heavily armored people up to grab this woman, and she has the earpiece, and then she kind of stops and she looks at Ruby and goes, "Desecration," and then runs off, and they all just leave. And I went, no, that makes no sense. I know they're trying to build up this suspense and everything, but it doesn't. Common sense. You put common sense to it. Someone tells Kate that anyone who goes up to this woman runs away. Psychic training be damned, you're going to do something else. Now, she does explain that whenever you try to look at it, to zoom in, she always looks as if she's 73 yards away. Perfect away, 20/20 vision can see from 73 yards away. But we know, and again, we just watched The Day of the Doctor. We know she has that Tower of London. We know that she has all that alien tech in there, right? There's not one thing, some kind of exosuit, some kind of robo thing she can keep an eye on, that they could go up and examine this and bring her in. Nothing. This feels like they had to write it this way so that it keeps the theme of every time someone runs up to it, they run away, and it just it makes it's written specifically to say even unit can't do anything about it. Okay, we get it. And it's at this point that I'm just asking, where is the doctor? Because I figured by this point, I even said when we first watched it, I thought there was going to be a point where we cut to him holding Ruby and going, "Ruby, wake up! What are you doing? What's going on in there?" Like he's, like she's not really. This isn't really happening, and like something happened when she touched the thing or something. And again, I gotta point out, all this is happening to Ruby. The doctor's the one that walked into it. Well, we find out later this woman's trying to warn her from stepping on it. That's the whole thing. But the doctor does it. And maybe his punishment is that he disappeared. I don't know. What could be interesting is if they did the episode again from his point of view, and Ruby is gone, and he can't get into his own TARDIS, so he's got to kind of hitch it and do his own thing. And he sees a strange man in the distance. I don't know. Maybe not to revisit that. I don't know. But I don't know. Maybe that's not such a good idea because I think. Sorry, my belt is starting to get. My belt buckle is starting to get me. Yeah, and this is where the episode kind of goes down a bit. Because we kind of flash between Ruby, who was 19 at the time, now just aging, supposedly. She's 25 with a wig. And then she's 30. And then we stop when she's 40. And my 12-year-old son pointed out, she doesn't look 40. Yeah, they didn't do anything with the makeup. And again, I gotta point it out because we just finished up Matt Smith's tenure. The time of the Doctor had great prosthetics to make him look old. And they couldn't do anything but a few makeup touches and a different wig to make her look a little bit old. And, glasses to make her look like she's in her 40s. It's like she's 40. Doesn't work. And again, this whole time, the woman is there and she lived, we have a montage of her living her life and going on dates, but not really, getting anywhere with them. And yeah. And then something happened that I didn't think was going to happen. She's on a date at the pub, and she sits on the TV an interview with Roger Ap Gwilliam, about running for prime minister. He's from Wales, prime minister, and I'm just like, really? I didn't think we were going to go back to that. So now she has decided to go on this crusade to try to save the world from a nuclear war. I just want to point out that when it comes to time travel stories and shows, wars, especially the start of wars, fixed points. Okay? Fixed points. Like, you couldn't go to where Archduke Ferdinand was shot. Fixed point. You can't go to the bombing of Pearl Harbor. Fixed point. I know that's not the start of World War II, but for us it was. That's how we got into it. You know what I mean? A fixed point. A war is so big that going back and trying to change it would drastically change things so much. It's a fixed point. So the fact that this is supposed to start a war and she's done this, I know the ending of the episode kind of reverses this whole thing, but I just don't think it would work. And I kind of put this to the fact that she hasn't been with the Doctor long enough to know that that something like this you couldn't prevent it. But she goes to try it, and she I do like the cut. I said this the second time I watched it, where she's like, "Oh, I want to volunteer. I'll do anything. I'll do this, do that. I'll even carry the coats." And then cut, and she's holding the coats while he's doing an interview. And at the point during the interview, he's talking about nuclear weapons, and the guy's like, "Wait, are you telling me that you want to use nuclear weapons?" And he's like, let's not put that on the actual thing. Let's cut that out. Yeah. And so this was difficult to talk about because my son's 12. And so it's hard to kind of get, and they don't go fully into it, but they introduce this character. I don't even remember her name. But it's implied that Roger Ap Gwilliam is sexually assaulting her. Because she introduced herself, they talk, and then later when she's talking to her, Ruby's talking to her, she goes, "He's a monster." Yeah, and then later they're like, "Oh, he requested you specifically by name," and I'm like, "Yeah, this guy, no." Look, it's subtle because this is produced by Disney, so you can't go full into it. Even when it was on just the BBC, I don't think they would really go into it. So it's subtle, but I don't think we needed that added. Like, we know he's a monster. He wants to start a nuclear war. We get it. You don't need to add that to it. And again, I might just be assuming, but that's what it felt like to me, is because she was so afraid. And it's here that Ruby decides she knows what to do. They're on a football field. I say it's a soccer field, but they're on a football field. He's doing an interview, and she runs out. And I didn't like the fact that the security just sort of showed up with the guns. Like, stop, don't move anymore, stop. And she gets to 73 yards, and she stops. And the woman is right next to him. And then he runs off. He gets all scared, and he runs off. He quits the race, and he's, like, when they ask him why, he's like, ask her. And yeah, she feels like, she's done it. And then they cut to 40 years later. And I went, no, I get it. The episode runtime, sure. But I felt like here, specifically, we needed a montage of her. We had a montage of her growing up living with it and kind of fearing it. Now we need a montage of her using this lady to do things, to help for the betterment of mankind, to save people, to do, all that. We need a montage of that. Don't just cut to when she's an old woman, which, by the way, I'm glad they use a different actress for this, because the alternative would just be put Millie Gibson in a gray or white wig and say, hey, she's 80 now. Because the makeup job they did for her to be 40 didn't work. I'm glad they got older actress. Now, we see her go back to Wales. We see the TARDIS is still there. And, Kate running away be damned. She knew where the TARDIS was. Why didn't she pick it up? I mean, she literally picked it up with the Doctor inside it when it was just in the middle of a field. And she's not going to pick it up here? Not realistic. Sure. And the old Ruby said that she's been dealing with this, and she never found out her true mother. Her adopted mother never spoke to her again. She's been abandoned her whole life, but she hasn't been alone for 65 years because the woman been following her. Still there. And, and so we end with a confusing ending. So she's laying in bed, and they say, her nurse, whatever, says, oh, when you need the light on, just say light, or light on, or something. She's like, well, I know, we had that when I was young. Yeah, but I guess like Alexa or Google or something. Siri. And then she did it, and then she sees the woman coming towards her, and it's creepy, and then it cuts to now she is the woman. And I want to point out, she's got a wedding ring on her finger. I don't know if that's supposed to mean anything, or maybe it was just the actress and she didn't want to take it off, but it kind of, I've been alone my whole life, and she's got a wedding ring on. Kind of should have told the actress to take her wedding ring off. I know it's a no, but, when you just had the line, I've been abandoned my entire life, but I haven't been alone since I was for 65 years. And it's like, well, did you have a husband that abandoned you? Something? I don't know. It's told before she couldn't hold a relationship, so I'm just pointing, I don't know. And no, she's there, and she's the woman. Now, I saw behind the scenes stuff. It's a different woman they had doing that than it is who played Old Ruby. It's a different actress. So, but I don't know. And it cuts back because it's the Doctor, and we had to. So I didn't pay attention when we started watching it the second time because I was kind of talking over it. I basically did commentary over the second time we watched it because I was kind of trying to think out loud. And so I'm like, I didn't pay attention when we started, so I had to go back. Because at the end, she says, I've been to Wales only 3 times before. And I'm like, did she say that at the beginning? Because she's like, I've only been to Wales 2 times before. Once when I did this, another time we did this, and then afterwards, the doctor's like, when's the 3rd time, huh? You said I've been to Wales the 3rd time. When is it? Yeah. I guess now. And I'm like, but did she say that? No. You watch the beginning of it. She says, I've been there twice. So there is something. Maybe there is something in there. But here, she sees the woman, which prompts the doctor to go, I don't know. What woman? What woman? I don't see nothing. No woman. He can't see her. Though I would point out everybody can see her before, but he can't see her. And that prompts her to look at her surroundings and stop him from walking through it. Now, at the beginning, he didn't know what it was. Like, I don't know. It's something. Now he's like, oh, it's a fairy net or something like that. It's a fairy something. I don't know. He knew what it was. And I'm like, okay. But he didn't know what it was at the beginning. It's confusing. And, yeah, they walk off. The episode ends. The episode ends. Yeah, because this goes and goes into the next. What's happening in the next episode? The previous to the next episode kind of has the vibe of Series 1 Doctor Who, is what it reminds me of. So, but here's the situation. Okay? This is not an ending. I don't know if we'll come back to it. I don't know. But there's not an ending. Who is the woman? I refuse to believe it was her the entire time. I don't get it. Because the events that happen at the end are different than the ones that happened at the beginning. Because I'm like, okay, it's her. It's going to reveal that it's her the entire time. But is this just a loop? No, because it stopped from happening. So, what? Was this creature there? This woman thing there to try to stop Roger Ap Gwilliam from doing it? Because, well, now it's going to happen, right? I don't know. And then this time you can hear her say, "Don't step." And it kind of, I don't know. Another question. Why, when people go to talk to the woman, do they run off screaming? What does the woman say to them that gets them to run off? Do they say stay away from her? What happened? Why are people running away? It's never explained. There's no explanation. I felt like, almost, if you spread it out and it starts with, like, she thinks she can get rid of this woman if she stops this from happening, and then realizes it's still going to follow her, and she's like, and it ends, and it's a 2-part, goes to the next episode, and the next part is we recap what happened, and then we see that Ruby passes out, falls into his arm, and now we follow the doctor. Or maybe Ruby disappears, and now the doctor's trying to find out where she went. I mean, he doesn't see the woman. He goes to Kate, and all this stuff, tries to figure out. Turns out that there's something with this net thing that puts them in like a parallel world or something, right? Because to me, and I said this to my son, I said, you know how sometimes you hear something and then you go to sleep and you'll dream about that. So just before they walk into the net, what did the doctor say? Roger Ap Gwilliam causes nuclear war. That she helped stop Roger Ap Gwilliam from causing that nuclear war. Very much of something that was mentioned before getting put unconscious or knocking out or going to sleep, and then you dream about that, but you're stopping that, you know. I don't know. I also want to go back and mention he does say, "Oh, spoilers," so nice reference there. But again, it is confusing, and you try to put it's not an ending. There's no questions. There's no answers given. I mean, there's no answers. Who really was the woman? Like I said, I refuse to believe that it was Ruby the entire time because it doesn't make any sense. And it's not the same actress, so you're meant to think it's not. Why did everyone go running? Right? Of all people, why were Unit unable to do anything about it? Will this come back? Where the hell did the doctor go? That's the biggest question that's not answered is what happened to the doctor? Like I said at the beginning of the review, you can't just have him disappear and not give a reason as to why he's not there. He's just gone is not a reason. I'm sorry, but it's not. It's confusing. I did like this episode, but overall, it is a little frustrating just to kind of, I don't know, to try to understand this. I just don't know. And yeah, this is getting long. It's almost 40 minutes, and I'm sorry, but I needed to talk about this. This is one of those, like I said, it hit me so hard that we had to watch it again almost right afterward. I never do that. I wait a couple of days if I'm going to watch the episode. Right away, like maybe a half hour after we watched it again, and it's just, I don't know. And again, and something I want to point out is that it's Dr. Light, and it's one of those where it's the companion that has to carry the episode, like with Donna in Turn Left, excuse me. So here, Lily Gibson has to carry, and she does a great job. I just wish the makeup department would have actually made her look older, because I did not believe for 1 second she was 40. Sorry, she was good, but you know, I don't know. But what are your thoughts on 73 yards? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I'm Sky, and I'll see you in the next one.